And yes, we are back here for the next installment of whatever we're calling this. It's, we're talking about Big Brother 28. This is the second half of week 1 as well as the first half of week 2. Of course, I did discuss some of what went down in week 1 with Noah Hammerman when he was on a couple days ago. But safe to say a lot's happened since then. There's a lot to talk about. This has been, I think, one of the most insane week 2s of Big Brother we've seen in a long time. Normally, this is like the kind of week you would see like halfway through the season. Instead, we're getting it right away. And does that mean that like the show's peaking early? I hope not. I hope this means that we're in for a really exciting season, but I really just have to see. But of course, we'll get into all of that. Before I do that, though, I do want to introduce my guest here, someone that has not been on my channel for a little bit now. Have been trying to get this person on and finally was able to, catch up on the show. Finally was able to actually get an idea of like what was going on. Very excited to hear this person's thoughts. Here they are. It is Sean Dairo. What's going on?
Hello, not mid-drink. Hello, everyone.
I was going to say, I got you the best time, but how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Yeah. So before we do get started talking about everything that went down, Chongs, there's a lot of stuff to really get into. Just give me your first of all, and I ask this to every single guest. First of all, what was your excitement going into Big Brother 28, and how you felt about the season so far?
I mean, okay. Initially, I was like, okay, I'm not going to watch the season because I barely even watched last season.
Oh, it was so good. You missed out.
I don't know. Big Brother has been going, it's up, doing its up and downs with me, but I didn't really have any expectations going into the season. So, but when I ended up watching the premiere, literally catching up,
yeah.
I was like, okay, this is promising. And then when I knew about the rumors about the 3 legends, and I was like, okay, this is probably gonna get boring because they always, bring back someone.
Yeah.
But so far it's been an entertaining season to start with.
Yeah, definitely. It's hard to really tell at this point, I feel like, how this season is going to go. Because like I said, I think that, the first week was a little bit more mellow than what we'd seen. 26 and 27, we had crazy first weeks to start the season, and that really just kind of kick-started what it was going to be. I feel like week 1 this time around was a little bit more subdued. Week 2, however, seems like it's kind of hopefully setting the stage for what this season could be, but we really will just have to see. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and just get into it. So we're starting off with actually Wednesday's episode because we talked about Sundays. So we'll get into Wednesdays here. And we see immediately that Yash is not really happy that Dee put him up. Feels like it was kind of a boneheaded move, that she told everyone that they were safe from her team. And now that putting him up, so her word doesn't really mean shit now. We see Taylor's also devastated to be on the block, but feels like she has a good chance of winning. And also Mallory's pretty upset given the fact that Ashley and Barrett weren't put up. And Sean, I want to hear your thoughts on this. Dee's nominations on how do you feel based on her reasonings and what she's doing? Do you think she made the correct decision here?
I mean, okay, so for the first week, right?
Yes.
Everyone wants to play the safe card first week. I don't blame her for doing what she did. Yeah. I get her logic. But I feel like this is where the players forget that at the end of the day, it is a social experiment.
Exactly.
Right? So with Yash kind of having his little mental breakdown kind of ish, he doesn't think, he's thinking right then and there, but he doesn't think long run. Oh, it makes sense. Yes, I know it was promised safety, but who else was she gonna put up?
Yeah, exactly. And that was kind of my thinking too. It's we have to remember that Dee just came into the house and had very little to go off of. And I mean just came into the house. She had really no time to think through these nominations. So I think her reasoning made sense. And Yash, I mean, I get why he's upset where it's oh, I kind of helped her win the comp, but it's it doesn't really matter necessarily.
Yeah.
You guys did something that the episode doesn't tell us quite as much as what happened on the feeds is that these two never really talked game, and that's why she felt so fine with putting him up there because it's like, sure, you were from my team, but like they just didn't have that kind of connection. So I understand why he he feels what he does, but I also don't care. So
that just reminded me when Mallory was like, "Oh, let me go talk to D."
Yeah,
it was just a montage of.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was like her talking about literally anything but like the game. Yeah, that was not a great moment for her for sure. And we'll get to Mallory in a little bit, but we see that Drew is really not liking the way Mallory is reacting. He feels that she's way too rattled and she's throwing out names in front of everyone. She's mentioning the fact that Ashley and Barrett should have been up there, but there's really not, there's not a lot to go off of because of the fact that there's just so much uncertainty for who everyone's working with. Oh no, I said the cursed word. We're already getting Mike riled up here. Mike might be a bit of a fan of Mallory. I don't know, hard to tell. But anyway, we see Drew goes to her and Melody and actually warns her as to what she should not say moving forward. And I think this was really good from Drew. This gets Mallory to really feel good with him as well as Melody. And I think that Drew did the correct thing here. Melody, on the other hand, takes kind of like the opposite approach and kind of decides that, okay, Mallory's putting a really big target on her back. I'm going to just like distance myself from her. I'm not going to talk much with her. I'm not going to try to entertain, much of a relationship there. And I want to hear your thoughts on this. A lot of people have talked about Melody and how Melody has immediately decided to like distance herself from Mallory like immediately. What do you think about her decision here?
Melody, I mean, okay. I feel like she could have done it way differently. Yeah. Like even going to D about it and like backtracking, like if like honestly, like I feel like if I were to have like a good solid gameplay, it would probably be the way D's playing because she clocked it. Yeah. I don't know. I don't really like Melody to be honest. Not really my biggest fan. I feel like her strategy is just all over the place. Because even when like afterwards, like she just goes back to the 3.
I think that as someone who's watched like Melody on the feeds and has become a bit of a fan, what I'll say about Melody is that she's like the definition of like a game bot. And I don't think she really thinks about the fact that like, okay, these are still people. I still have to kind of treat them like people and things like that. So she's always thinking ahead of like, I need to get in with that group. And I think it's really good that she's doing that. She just doesn't have like the proper connections to really find her way in there. I think she has a lot of potential. She's just not really playing the game. She's playing the game as if like, these are just like, sort of like, just people on the board that she can easily just like discard whenever and not think about the fact that like people are going to remember that she did this. So I think it was kind of a rough start for Melody. I do think she turns things around after this, but I don't think this was like the right decision for her. So yeah, and I mean, you mentioned it, but you mentioned it. She goes to D. She tries to have this conversation with her about the fact that like, I'm not really with Mallory and things like that. And D, it actually has the opposite effect on D, where D's like, yeah, sure, you're not. The reality is this is actually true for Melody. Like Melody was trying to distance herself from Mallory. And the problem is that the problem is that she just did it a little too obviously. I think it's fine if you're doing this if like, that Mallory's going and you need to kind of pivot your game, but there's a veto, there's a blockbuster, like it just doesn't make sense to do it so early on and also tell everybody that you're doing it. So again, I think she had the right idea, but went about it like completely the wrong way.
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like for something so obvious, it shouldn't even just be said at all. Like, I don't know. In my opinion, if it's obvious, it's obvious. If I can notice it, someone else is going to notice it, kind of thing.
Exactly. No, that's a really
she overdid it there.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, Mallory is feeling like people are seeing her as defeated. She's not someone who just gives up and accepts her fate. So she wants to try to go and talk to D, and definitely a better conversation with D than the one she had in the previous episode, where they do talk a little bit more game here. Mallory says that, like, you know, she understands her reasoning, how she doesn't really want to go home, asks her what she would prefer. Dee tells her that she would want Yash to go, but the reality is that Mallory's kind of her backup target there, so Mallory really needs to kind of lock in. And so, yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But while Melody is trying to distance herself from Mallory and is doing too obvious of a job with it, Lyric is also thinking about doing this, but doing it in a much more sort of subtler way. And that's why Lyric doesn't get nearly as much blowback for her decision in trying to do this. And Melody even talks to Drew about distancing from Mallory and thinks that he could be a great option to kind of help her branch out. And even he's like, okay, I don't really like the fact that you're doing this, but you could still be like a good sort of ally to me. Sean, what are you thinking about Drew so far? I've heard people very like divided on him. Some people really like him. Some people find him annoying. What do you think about Drew?
For the people watching that find Drew annoying, keep watching, because I feel like he's definitely someone. I feel like he's an acquired taste.
Yeah,
you know, bitter taste in the mouth, but then when you start like doing it, it's more like pleasant. Like, I feel like that's what I'm like viewing Drew as, like, because he's not terrible. I think he's playing so far like a good game.
Yeah,
and like it's not messy either. So I'm liking Drew.
Yeah, I like Drew a lot. I think, you know, something I noticed with Drew that he does really well is that he's always trying to like form separate relationships with everybody. Like, he has the crossovers, and that clearly is like his main sort of grouping, which maybe shouldn't be. We'll talk about that when we get to like spoilers and things like that with the live feeds. But that is mainly what he is doing. He is trying to explore options outside. And I think Melody's like the perfect person to kind of scoop up here, where it's like, hey, if you're going to distance yourself from Mallory, pivot over to me. I will be able to tell when you're doing the same thing to me, but also I'll have information that I can then disseminate to the crossovers in anyway. So I think Drew is doing a really exceptional job. It just sucks that some things are not looking great for him. But again, we'll talk about that when we get to spoilers. Other than that, though, you know, what Drew doesn't know, that's not necessarily his fault. What he does know from the knowledge he has, the way he's playing the game, I think he's doing a very good job so far. So I think Drew's definitely someone to potentially watch out for sure. So yeah, like I said, he's kind of wary about, you know, how to handle things with her, but wants to kind of use her as like a piece to his game. So Mallory then goes to talk to Barrett. This is before that, we do see players picked for the veto competition. We see Barrett and Melody are drawn, and they're going to be competing alongside Mallory, Taylor, Yash, and Dee. So Mallory immediately goes to Barrett and talks about how he really needs to gun hard for this. She's worried that, you know, Dee could very well put him up. Obviously does not realize that how deep he's in with her and things like that. And in reality, he doesn't really even want to win veto in an effort to kind of like hide his cards and things like that. I think it's probably the right move from Barrett here to not want to win veto. You don't want to immediately show the fact that like you're good with Mallory, especially when you're like with the crossovers and things like that. So I think it's good to say like, I will, you know, this is the right thing to say. Like, I will definitely win that veto, but secretly like not really necessarily want to win. I think it was the right thing for Barrett to do that. So yeah, so Yash finally decides to talk with Dee here, and it's not a great conversation. He kind of explains like how hurt he felt by her putting him up. She mentions how, you know, she felt it was the most diplomatic move. She's hoping that you know, things can work out. But the reality is that Dee has no recollection of telling her team that she would save them. So when Yash presents this to her, she's like, oh, wait, I did that? Like, I didn't realize that happened. And she just kind of wants Yash to go here. I'll be honest, I'm not a huge Yash fan. Yes, Rome did tell Yash that. I wish they showed that on the episode. But yeah, this was one of the first things we saw on feed, Sean. Rome went to Yash, and Yash was like, would you use the veto on me? And Rome was like, honestly, no. And straight up said that to him. It was crazy.
This cast is cutthroat.
Yeah, very much. Yash, I'm not really feeling so far. I feel like he's playing like a completely different game than everybody. He wants so badly to like lock into some kind of like all guys alliance that isn't going to happen and really just like bro down, but he doesn't have the people to do that with. And he also wants to like just win like comp after comp. And I don't know. I'm not really feeling Yash so far. What do you think about Yash?
Yash, yuck, Yash, yuck. It's similar, you know. If you pronounce it correctly, I honestly no, I get it. No, I get it. But if I don't, like, it's weird to watch past seasons where the girls want to have an all girls alliance. But
Yes.
this season, it has yet to get brought up, and I'm honestly like, wait, this is new things.
Yeah.
Doing with an all guys alliance is just giving ick. I don't know if because I'm like, you know, gay and I'm just like straight men just ick me kind of thing. No offense. I just, yeah, Josh is not my cup of tea.
Yeah, no, I'm not a huge fan of him. And even as the week goes on, like we'll talk about what happens, but Yash just feels so out of place in this cast right now. But you know, we'll get into that. So
play Big Brother. It's giving he doesn't know how to play Big Brother.
Yeah, very much. Very, very similar to like Keanu last season, where like this is someone who would typically be first boot, but he's not, and he's here. And you know, we know what happened with Keanu. We'll see if the same thing happens to Yash. So you know, other things to talk about here real quick is we get this moment between. Well, first of all, we do get a segment with Lyric and Rome and them continuing to like showmance, and they're going as far as to like he's already asking her questions about whether or not they will work out in the outside world. Again, like I just can't believe how fast these two are falling for each other. It feels like again we're on like week 5 of the game, but then you have to remind yourself that it's literally day 4, as Lyric says. I don't know what to make of this relationship right now. So Sean, how do we feel about Lyric and Rome?
I mean, I think they're cute, like on a personal level. Like if I was just watching them like on Love Island, I'd definitely ship them. But this is a Big Brother, you know, like I feel like especially more towards Lyric, I guess I would say. I feel like more leaning towards the Love Island vibe than it is Big Brother. Because we haven't really gotten to see like her strategic standpoint on her own showmance as what's his face? Rome has. Like he's asked questions regarding like the game itself to Lyric. Like they've discussed like game, but like Lyric doesn't really like give much about it. I don't know. I think they're cute.
They remind me too much of myself and my ex, and I will just leave it at that. However, what I will say about Lyric is that I vastly underestimated her gameplay. Yeah, you're seeing the parallels now. In terms of Lyric, like as a game player, I will say I definitely do think I underestimated her a bit just based on some of the things she does later on in the week. But again, as a showmance, they are what they are. I just wish that I didn't get major flashbacks to other things. But yeah, anyway, enough about Lyric and Rome. Let's get back on track here. We get this moment with Jason and Angela. And the reason we're going to talk about this is because of what happens in the veto where, no, it's not that moment. Not quite yet. We'll get to that.
Okay.
We'll get to that. But Jason and Angela, she ends up talking about how like she did some dare on a BB cruise ship, and she ended up dancing suggestively with Howie from Big Brother 6 and Big Brother 7. And the reason that this is a big deal is because, well, Howie ends up hosting the veto comp, and you can see Angela's reaction to it all. And I actually really like this comp. I thought the concept was actually a lot of fun, where basically the idea is Howie's from this like futuristic realm where Dr. Will has essentially taken over the world. He had some kind of thing where like he released this tonic that like makes you never age and things like that. And so now he's like taken over, and they have to do this like pipe puzzle of sorts. And Yeah, like I said, I thought this was a really fun comp, and well, I don't know who could have possibly won this veto. It's Mallory. Mallory wins the veto here, as Mike is trying to get me to say here. Mallory does in fact win the veto. Mallory won the veto. Yes. It was a great moment for Mallory. I feel like this is exactly the kind of thing that she needed, and also again, like people have said this. Really great to see in the blockbuster era. We're consistently seeing someone who ends up being like an easy target week one win the veto in a way nobody expected them to. Like it happened with Lisa on Big Brother 26. It happened with Ashley on Big Brother 27. And then, of course, she ended up winning that season. And now it's happened with Mallory. And I think, again, this was exactly the kind of win that she needed. Does this really, change her much as a player? Not really. But she really just kind of, fade into the background nicely after this to where now people aren't necessarily going to want to target her because they know that she's really good at puzzles and things like that. But Sean, what do you think of this comp overall?
Okay, I'm gonna be quite transparent. This episode, when I went on, I was in and out of sleep. Anywho, the episode itself, I did watch most of it. Had fallen asleep, woke up to Mallory winning. I was like, oh, yeah. Cool. The episode, the comp itself, I really like. I don't think we've ever seen a puzzle comp like this in Big Brother. And it's also kind of giving Survivor comp. Too.
Yeah.
Most of the comps happened so far, aside from the blockbuster, have been giving Survivor comps.
Yeah. You can definitely tell too, because they've definitely upped their they've definitely upped their levels of when it comes to production. They've also done a lot more equitables, but that's also been the case I think the past couple seasons of Big Brother where they've just implemented a lot more puzzle type comps and equitable stuff, and this was another one that I definitely really did enjoy. So I thought this was a lot of fun to watch. But we see Dee is not really thrilled that Mallory won this because, she kind of just wanted Mallory to potentially go. So now she's really conflicted with, do I put up Melody? Do I put up Ashley? I think pretty much everybody was kind of hoping that she put up Melody here as kind of just karma on Melody's end. I think it would have been really funny if that had happened to see Melody's reaction, considering her whole reasoning was because of how Mallory reacted and things like that. But it becomes pretty clear after a while she probably is just going to put up Ashley here. They have this conversation and it doesn't go great. Ashley, she's trying to do what she can to not push too hard for things, but in inadvertently doing so, I think she kind of just talked herself onto the block, honestly, with the conversation that these two end up having. I watched this conversation on the feeds. It was not great. She tries to push for Barrett. Obviously, Dee's not going to do that. She also tried, I believe, to push for. I believe she also tried push. I don't remember who else she tried pushing. I think she tried pushing for Lyric or someone like that. I don't remember what it was, but she was trying hard to push for things that just wasn't going to happen. She didn't really do a great job of showing Dee why I'm good for your game and things like that. I don't know. I feel like Ashley kind of dropped the ball on this conversation. What do you think?
I mean, I feel like there's different type of players, and I feel like Ashley's definitely the type B player, where if it's me, it has to be this person. Yeah. Usually when someone does that in Big Brother, 9 out of 10 times it's not working. Yeah. And it ends up being that person going on the block. I definitely think watching her so far, Ashley, I feel like she was a little too slow at playing the game. She probably in her head she was playing a good pace, but in reality it was probably too slow, too late kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that her biggest mistake this entire week was not talking to Dee until she absolutely had to. I think this was somebody that I assumed, when I heard about the crossovers, okay, Ashley probably is crossovers adjacent because she's close with Barrett. They kind of had a connection over that. Surely she's going to be in with that group. And then hearing that oh no, she actually hasn't talked any strategy with Dee, I was what are we doing? Like, I think that Ashley thought that, like, okay, there's all these things kind of forming around me. I don't really want to like push for anything, but you kind of have to like try to finagle your way in with people any way that you can. And I just don't feel like Ashley did the greatest job with that. So yeah, overall, I was quite disappointed by her in this this conversation. This is definitely not the worst thing she does, which we'll talk about. But yeah, overall, I definitely just wanted a lot more from Ashley. Yes, she did eat a hamburger, so she accomplished something. She has that going for her. But we'll pivot away from Ashley for a second and talk about Melody, because there's quite a bit going on here. We see Jason forms this group with Melody and Drew. He calls it the Court Jesters, and at first the two of them seem very much down for it until Jason decides that, you know what? I'm just gonna put all my cards on the table. I'm not gonna hide anything. I'm just gonna tell them straight up why we are forming this group. It is not just because I like the three of us together. It's not just the fact that we're super fans. It's the fact that, listen, there are three legends here, and they're taking the screen time away from us, and we got to do what we can to make sure that we take them out. Devens has to go as early as next week, and we got to make sure he's, basically planning all this stuff as if they've had this solidified alliance for weeks now. But you literally just formed this alliance, and you're expecting that the two of them are going to, be careful with this information, and they're not just going to immediately spill. Obviously, they immediately spill. Drew goes to them, tells them what's going on. Sean, I want to hear your perspective on Jason so far.
I was excited. I was really excited to see Jason because I did watch Jason's season of RuPaul's Drag Race. We love Selena. We do. I love Selena. I don't like Jason. I love Selena. I don't like Jason. Why? I love a good cutthroat player because I did watch Devens' seasons of Survivor, and that he is a definition of cutthroat.
Oh yeah,
Jason
especially
cutthroat.
This week.
Jason's cutthroat is more like disgusting cutthroat. Like the only reason why I'm saying that is because of he had like a heartfelt moment with Angela.
Yeah, we'll get
him explaining that to Drew and Melody, like, oh yeah, like I did this, and like I feel like I'm playing flawlessly. I have it wrapped in my finger. People play. You can do the same thing just in different styles. I don't know. That put a sour taste in my mouth.
Yeah, like I said, I said this on, the podcast before, and I'll say it here. I think that Jason's strategy is a fine one. Knowing that the legends have to go, obviously, I think that's fine. But Jason is playing the game as if, again, it's like week 5 or 6, and that he's already established all these connections, when what he should be doing from the beginning is, trying to kind of feel everybody out. Who is good with Angela D and Devens and who is not. And those who you feel like, okay, you have a problem with D, like Mallory should be someone that you immediately are taking under your wing, because that Mallory already is not a fan of D. In fact, she has said as much since, not to get too far into feeds here, but since D has put her on the block, Mallory has not forgiven D for that. Mallory very much wants D to go. She's probably the main person pushing for her. And if you know that Mallory's upset with D, you pull Mallory in. If you know that someone's upset with Devens, you pull them in. What you don't do is immediately form an alliance with the intention of trying to take out the legends when you don't know for sure if we're all on the same page about it. And I think that's exactly Jason's problem. It's very similar to what we just said about Melody, where it's great to think this, but you should not verbalize it to everybody. You certainly should not tell people that oh, I want Angela to think that she's my mom, and that that I got her wrapped around my finger and she has no idea. Because the second that you do stuff like that, people are going to question your intentions. People are going to question okay, was that interaction sincere? Were you doing the same thing with me? I just feel there's a lot of stuff that Jason did that was very short-sighted, and I really want to like Jason. I think he can be very entertaining. The problem for me is that he's just playing the game way too fast, and it's absolutely going to get him sent out potentially early as this next week. We will have to see. Jason just really got lucky, honestly. One of the most luckiest Big Brother players ever that he had safety this week, because he absolutely would have been the replacement nominee if he wasn't, for sure. Like, no question about it. D basically says as much because, Drew goes to them, exposes what happened. Angela just had this, and keep in mind, Angela's had this really sweet moment with Jason where he talked to her about like his mom dying and things like that, and how she's kind of the mom in the house for him and all this stuff. And it really ended up getting to her. And so for her to then find out that he's coming for her and Devens, it really strikes this chord with her. You see her getting really emotional in the diary room. And, a lot of the time Angela getting emotional, it's kind of funny because it's Angela and she gets paranoid. I generally did feel bad for her here because it's like she generally is trying to play the game differently. And you can tell, like, she's trying to be a lot more open. She's trying to be a lot more social with people. She's trying to make some really solid connections. A lot of people see Angela as that sort of motherly figure in the house, and she's adopted that role quite well. So to kind of have Jason, tell her that like, oh, this is not, this was not sincere, you can understand why this affects her so badly. So again, I'm kind of two minds with him where like, I understand what he's trying to do, but my God, is he going about it in completely the wrong way, and it's going to get him sent out very early.
If they did awards, he would definitely be villain of the season already.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. In a way that I really didn't expect. Like, I knew he was going to be like this, like, I knew he was going to be like really like kind of potentially messy, but certainly not to the extent that he already is. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at with Jason. We do get to, before we get to the veto, we see Melody goes to D, kind of reassures her that she's not going to put her up, but D is very nervous because of her distancing herself from Mallory, so you can see she's kind of conflicted over what to do. But ultimately, she does decide to go ahead and put up Ashley here. Obviously, Mallory uses the veto on herself. And Sean, do you think she made the right choice in putting up Ashley?
I believe she did, just because like if she's gonna go off of the whole like teams or the groups, like your next bet is who else. If you're considering each group and you got one from each group, you have to consider
exactly.
So yeah, I think she did a good job.
Yeah, I mean, I think long-term Melody is probably the better option because you're already like fearful of her being this game bot and things like that. But I think when it comes down to like, you want to stick to your logic. You don't want to ruffle too many feathers early on. I think putting up Ashley is the best way to do that. Unfortunately, the way things go this next episode does make me a little bit more conflicted on some of the moves that she made, which we will get into here, because ultimately, Ashley's on the block, and Dee tells her that Ashley was someone to put up because they're not really working together, and she feels like she isn't really close to anybody, and so she kind of wants to potentially pull her in, and this is a discussion that they kind of end up having as a group. We'll talk about what ends up happening there a little bit later. But Dee does have this conversation with Yash, and he's feeling really confident that he's just going to win the blockbuster, but he isn't really confident he'd stay in a vote with Drew. He'd stay in a vote, but Drew is kind of assuring him that, like, they have his back. Obviously, that's not the case. Yash is very much the target here. He has been since the beginning. Yeah. We see that Taylor talks to Jason, and he kind of reassures her that, like, you're going to be fine. You have nothing to worry about. You're going to stay in all scenarios. This was a conversation that Taylor and Dee had early on where, like, Taylor was a lot more forgiving towards Dee than you would expect her to be, where, like, she actually was going as far as to still want to work with Dee. So Taylor's really the person where, like, we're fine with her. We don't want her to go. She's on the block. We just need her to stay. So that's kind of the position that Taylor's in here. We do get this quick conversation with Lyric and Melody, though, where they kind of want to start forming their own group. They know that Kamu, Haley, Chuk, Dee, and probably Devens are potentially working together. And so they want to get out Ashley because they feel like they can pull Taylor and Yash in. And this is very important because of what ends up happening next, where basically we see that Angela is getting really nervous about Rome. We talked about this in the last podcast, but Angela's really nervous about Rome because of the fact that he's holding all these meetings in the gym. Although they don't mention in the episode, and I really wish they did, there was a really funny moment where Angela and Dee were like hyper focused on the gym and trying to see who was in there and trying to see who was orchestrating meetings. But the gym was completely empty when they were doing this. And I really wish they had like sort of fixate on that more, because Angela was correct about like Rome holding court in the gym. But at the time, like, he was not doing that. And so we see that he's established this group with Jason and Lala. They're called the Mama's Angels, and this is kind of like the group that he really wants to get farthest in the game. He wants them to kind of, link up together, and they're planning to vote out Yash if it's Yash and Taylor, but Rome is just hoping that they can just send out Ashley. And so after this ends up happening, Angela kind of fills Kamu in on what's going on, talks to him about how half the other side of the house is filling up and how she feels like there was this meeting in the gym, but all the girls were there except for Ashley and Haley and herself. And so he goes to Dee. They kind of talk things out about, what to do. And ultimately, they realize, wait a minute, Ashley's not a threat here. Ashley doesn't really have anybody. We can easily pull her into our side. This can be someone that the crossovers and Red Corner can maybe get on the same page about. And now it seems like potentially they're going to try to save Ashley. They really want to rally the numbers for her. They want to see, if they can try to save her. And something they don't show in the episode, because I do think this is very crucial. They did tell Ashley to go be messy and start trying to get everybody paranoid and things like that. Unfortunately, Ashley takes this a little too seriously, because she goes right to Melody, and rather than just be like, I feel like I have a good chance of staying, she instead drops the names of every single person that is trying to keep her. And so obviously Melody is like, what the fuck? Why did you do this? Goes right to Drew and Barrett, who are very upset with what Ashley did. And Sean, how do you feel about Ashley's, as she calls it, her big move here? She said she had this devious plan that she was going to try to get people on her side, and obviously it didn't work. What do you think about what she did?
Watching the episode in that moment, I'm not even in the fucking house, and I'm her like, Ashley.
Yeah.
A few words are said, or what's that phrase? Anywho, if she had just left out the names, like you said, like she said, hey, I feel like I'd have
less is more, I think is what you're trying to say.
Less is more. Yeah. I really think she could have stayed. And I think she also, the fact that she even dropped names also really sealed the knot for her. I did like Ashley. I think she was very entertaining. I think she was very she could have been a social side if she had actually put her foot towards the game more. But
yeah,
I didn't really like that part of her. I didn't like the way that she went about it.
No, and like I said, I really think her downfall was not trying to get in with Dee from the beginning. Mm-hmm. I think that's really where she fell short. I get sort of what she was trying to do here, where it's like, I know I have votes on my side, so you need to vote with me, so I'm in the majority. But name dropping the people that are trying to save you and sort of confirming Melody's fears that there's this group that exists that she's not in is really not the way to go about it. And I do think that this was definitely the wrong move for Ashley. However, I'm going to give you a bit of a hot take here. I don't know if it's, some people have said this. I agree with this. It might be a hot take. It might not be. I actually think the crossovers made the wrong move here, because I think that though, yes, you're trying to sort of keep yourselves hitting, because ultimately they find out Ashley did this and now they want to basically vote her out no matter what, because they're worried that if they vote, it's going to show their cards. it doesn't really matter if you do that because of what they decide to do this next week. So to me, it's just, I'm very confused as to how they decide to play the game. Because here's the thing, like, if I know that Ashley did this, like, yes, it sucks, but you can just have Ashley be your scapegoat. Like, you can just say that, like, Ashley was the person who formed this. Ashley was the person behind everything. Like, that's the person you keep around to put a target on her back. You don't immediately vote her out because, oh, she just betrayed us. It's like you could still get her on your side. The other side you already know is voting her out. It's not like they're trying to keep her around. So deciding to just straight up vote her out, I do think was the wrong move here. Because again, if your concern was trying to like keep all of us in line and not be exposed, I understand that. But clearly based on how they decided to play this next round, I don't know if that was actually their agenda. So I don't know, Sean. I feel like it was the wrong move for them to get rid of Ashley.
I'm a firm guy of like, if you're gonna go through it, go through it.
Yeah.
Because when they did vote her out, I feel like that even confirmed Melody's theory.
Yeah.
Rather than like if they had just kept her, I feel like that would even increase the like, oh, what's true, what's not true, you know. So I personally don't think it's a hot take. I feel like it definitely hit them in the back for sure for that.
Yeah, because I think they were doing really well up to that point, but then all of a sudden hearing D say to Drew, like, I think the best thing to do is to get rid of Ashley. I'm like, is it really? I mean, Ashley's still on your side. In her mind, she was trying to get people to like vote in the majority. Like, yes, she fucked up, but she wasn't like intentionally trying to like throw you under the bus. And again, even if she is, you can just vote her out in a couple weeks because she's going to continue to be a target. It's very similar to Melody, or it's like, you know, she did this thing, so you keep her around, so then people just continue to think it's her fault. I don't know. I think it was a really big misstep from them. I think especially keeping in somebody like a Taylor who isn't really with anybody right now. You're essentially letting Taylor go to that other side of the house because you know she's good with Lala, and Lala's with that other side of the house. You know that. So, like, I don't know. To me, it was the wrong move. I think they definitely should have kept Ashley around. You know, you at least have somebody that didn't have anyone. You're kind of giving her, you know, hope that, okay, they're on my side now. I can actually trust them. Maybe she even goes to you and tells you what she did. And that kind of clears all of that up. And maybe now your eyes are now kind of on Melody because maybe she you know, sort of like exaggerated what happened. There's just so many different ways they could have gone about this to sort of retain their positioning. And I feel like instead they basically exposed themselves without actually trying to do so. So yeah, I don't think this was the greatest move. Before we do get to everything that went down after the eviction, though, I do want to quickly talk about the twist that we find out, and that is the BB time capsule. We knew that there was going to be some kind of a fan vote. We just didn't know the parameters of how it was really going to work out. And I'll just say right now, I'm not a fan of this, like, at all. I think this is, like, classic Big Brother. You put these legends in here. You want to try to find some way to where they're going to do well. You don't have confidence that they aren't just going to immediately be targeted. So coincidentally, you introduce this thing right at the start of the season when they're probably the only ones that people are going to vote for anyway. And in doing so, you're basically making it so like they're always going to have the upper hand. People, as much as, you know, we like certain people on this cast, people are fans of Melody, people are fans of Drew, people are fans of Mallory. Specifically, one person in this chat is a big fan of Mallory. You know, they're not going to have a chance to get the votes because of the fact that it's still so early on. Naturally, you're going to gravitate towards what you already know. You're going to vote for Angela. You're going to vote for D. You're going to vote for Devens. And if you weren't going to do that, then why did you introduce this now? I feel like, you know, I said this on Twitter. The best version of this was, I think, like the care packages in 18 because it was so late into the season because you actually had a chance to, like, know the newbies as well as the vets at that point. And so there was just as much of a chance that like Victor would get it over Nicole getting it. And I feel like that was like the most like well-balanced version of this. Whereas doing it now, again, it's basically just giving Angela, D, and Devens like a free pass in that way, and giving them all the more chances to go farther into the game. So not a huge fan of this. I like the fact that they can only be chosen once. At least we're not doing like fucking MVP where Alyssa Slater can just be picked fucking every single week and nobody else has a chance. There's at least that, but I'm still very much not a fan of this. Sean, what do you think of the time capsule?
I feel like it's lazy in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a fan.
No. Yeah, I mean, especially the fact that it's like, oh, we're bringing back classic twists and we're bringing back like, costumes and it's like they aren't really doing a good job of like trying to come up with their own stuff. I feel like last season they did it correctly where it's like you had that black box comp. There were powers there. People were able to get them. It wasn't people we necessarily wanted, but hey, they were the ones that were closest to it. I think that's the way you need to go about it. This just feels very much like we have the vets here. We know you love them. Here's how we keep them in the game. And just not a huge fan of the way that all went down, especially with the way things are already starting up. So yeah, not a huge fan of that twist at all. And I will also say I have not voted because I don't care enough. It's too early on in the season for me to give a shit. That's the other thing is like, the people who are going to vote are those who are, and listen, I love Angela, I love D, I love Devens. I want them to organically find their spot in the game. I don't want to give them a free pass to like do well in the game. Like it's just not early. It's too early in the game for me to care. That's the other thing. It's like, I think if you're going to introduce this, it should be like the earliest, like week 4. I feel like that's the earliest you should do it because it's like, okay, we've at least had a month to like get to know these people. But by doing it now, again, it just feels like that these vets are here. That that's why people are watching. You want to keep that Survivor audience in there, and you're not confident that they're not going to be taken out very early on. So, yeah, just not a fan. Not a fan of how that went. What I am a fan of, though, is the next episode we're talking about because, holy shit, there's a lot to discuss here. Week 2 of Big Brother 28, like I said, just really seems like it is kicking off the game in a way that I don't think anybody fully expected. Let's just get into it here. So we see that Dee talks about why she decided to keep Ashley because she ran her mouth and they kind of had to pivot, but everyone voted for her. So they were able to hide their cards well. And we see immediately this is kind of having a negative effect because Lyric and Melody are already talking about the fact that like, yeah, the vote was unanimous, but there could still very well be a divide in the house based on what Ashley said. Melody has not forgotten what Ashley told her, and so they're really nervous that like there's a divide here. They're most concerned at this point about Kamu, Chuk, and Haley because even though, like I said, I do think the crossover's messed up, those 3 have been so obvious that they're together that like they are the ones that they're kind of gunning for the most here. We see Angela talks to Haley and they kind of compare notes about how good of a position that Rome is in early on. Angela finds him to be this like charming snake. He's summoning people from room to room, but he's never really done that with her. So they have to cut the head off before it continues to gain power. This is basically just Matt all over again, except there's actual like evidence into what she's talking about. And I think that's what's fun about Angela is that like she's able to clock things, but this time around, like she actually is valid in feeling how she does about this. So yeah, so that's kind of where we're at with that. We get to the next HOH comp and it turns out to be June 30th, 1992, which I want to shout out Mike real quick. Mike found out this is actually Nicole Franzel's birthday, and that's why they picked this specific date. So they are now in Texas, and the whole thing is Nashville themed, and it's the new rule comp, which I really liked this comp a lot in Big Brother 26. I was very happy that it came back here. Where basically they're each going to have to find a partner. We see that Devens is No one selects Devens, and you would think that Devens is just out here, but instead he gets a pass to round 3. They then have to battle against their partners in a game of shuffleboard and then have to once again find a partner. It eventually comes down to Haley and Devens, where it seemed like at first Devens was going to throw the comp to Haley and just let her win, but then Devens ends up winning. Sean, what do you think of this comp overall?
I like this comp.
Yeah.
It's just funny to me that when they find a partner, they all gravitate to what they like, and then the first rule is, hey, you're going up against each other, and they're like, oh wow, well, the chances are going down.
Yeah, and then the third rule is just, oh, you actually get a free pass to the next round.
Yeah. Now I felt a little I was like, okay, so Devens gets a free pass. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I can't really be sketched up at that because that's just how the cards fell for him.
Yeah, I did see some people say they felt the comp was kind of rigged for Devens, but I mean, that's just how they wrote it. I don't think they thought Devens was going to be the one left out, but it is a little suspicious to have Devens be the one where it's like, oh, you're actually fine. You're not out of this comp.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they did the same thing in 26. I think from what I remember, Tucker and whoever else it was just wasn't able to compete in the rest of the comp.
Yeah.
So they definitely changed it. And I understand why they did, because I remember when that happened, people are like, it's not really fair that they weren't able to find a partner. You're kind of punishing them for that. They should still have a chance. I guess it was a tweak that they did. Again, it's just unfortunate that Devens is the person that has to happen to. So
I also find it funny that he was trying to throw it.
Yeah.
And I feel like 35 was a good median where she can either flop or beat, which we've seen in the past. She's beaten she's gotten high numbers, but it's funny to be that he didn't want HOH, but then ended up getting HOH.
Yeah, and I mean, I think ultimately probably should have just given this to Haley. Haley, is a huge target, and she's going to be somebody that people are going to want out. People were going to be really upset when she won it, and it was probably going to blow up her entire game. But this is Devens, and as we see in this episode, the sort of just showman in him, he just can't help himself. And I think this is really where we see a lot of flaws in Devens as a player. Because immediately when Devens wins HOH, we see that Angela's hoping that she can get him to push for Rome. This is her main sort of goal. She's been wanting to do this from the beginning, and she wants to make sure that Devens does this. And I will say right now, as somebody that is a feeds watcher, so the feeds did not come back until midnight. Devens said, I'm going to bed early. So then I said, okay, Kevin is also going to bed early because of the fact that maybe this is just going to be a really calm night. Maybe nothing's really going to happen here. And instead, all the shit happens here. In fact, this is one of the most insane nights and lead-ups to nominations I've seen in seasons. I feel like we have not seen this kind of craziness before nominations in a very long time. If we have, it's been the lead up to a veto. I think of last season with, Lauren waiting so long to figure out if she was going to save Vince and ultimately, doing so, and Rachel putting up Riley. I think of also last season when Morgan was, pressing Vince for 48 hours to try to get him to put up Lauren, and then he ultimately did it. Those are all things that were happening during the veto ceremony. It's not often we see the initial nominations just go into full-blown chaos, and that's exactly what we ended up getting here, where at first it seems okay, Devens is thinking pretty straightforward, where Rome is very excited. He has this conversation with Devens and massively ends up fucking up here, because he goes to Devens, they have this conversation, and Devens is being sincere here, where he doesn't want to put up Rome. He has a good bond with him. It seems like the two of them are pretty locked in at this point. But ultimately what ends up happening is Rome decides to bring up some options for him. He brings up Melody as an option immediately, says that, she's someone that he would be fine with going up. But his main concern, of course, is Lyric. He wants to make sure that Lyric is fine, and he immediately can tell that Devens is not very fond of Lyric. And you can't really blame Devens. Lyric has not really talked much with him. Even before Devens was HOH, he was saying, I can't wait to put Melody up. I can't wait to put Lyric up. So we knew that these were going to be his nominations in some fashion. We just didn't know who that third one was going to be. And at first, it seems like he's just thinking of putting up Mallory, and that's the direction that he's going in. But then Rome gives him like a list of like 6 different people that he's going to put up. He mentions Lyric, Drew, Jason, and Lala, all people that he's good with, including Devens. But specifically, he wants Jason and Lyric to be safe, and he wants to make sure that he protects them. And Sean, what was your reaction to this moment when Rome decided that I'm just going to give away my game to Devens here?
Listen, when we play orgs, I can understand that kind of gameplay.
Yeah.
This is fucking live television. This is Big Brother. A lot of people watch this shit.
Right.
So watching that, 1, irritated me.
Yeah.
2, I was cringing. 3, like, it's the second week, the beginning of the second week, and you're already like giving away who you're basically aligned with, who you trust the most, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I mean, to Rome's, to play devil's advocate here, Rome is doing this thinking he's good with Devens. Devens has formed a really good bond with him. He's kind of known the right things to say to Rome. He's told Rome that like, hey, I know that you're someone that is going to be like a really big threat and things like that. I kind of want us to stick together. So I think in that sense, like he saw this as like, I just feel good with Devens. But again, it's so early on in the game, you can never feel too comfortable with anybody aside from Lyric, obviously, like, or maybe not, because we'll talk about some of the things Lyric's doing a little bit later. With Devens, like there always should be that level of caution, and that's really where Rome messes up here. I think basically telling him like, hey, these are the people I'm good with. I don't want you to put up any of them. So Devens, like, he comes away from this and he feels really overwhelmed because it's like, that's a lot of names you want me to keep safe. I can't guarantee that's going to happen. And so at first he goes to D, and his nominations, he's going to do like, he is obviously going to do Melody. He doesn't want to do Lyric at this point. Instead, he's thinking of potentially putting up Lala because that's someone that Rome specifically left out. And so he's like, okay, I can just put her up. And then he's thinking about potentially putting up Mallory. But here's the thing. Angela has a different agenda because D goes right to Angela and Barrett, and Angela's like, no, we're not doing that. If Rome's going to tell him who he shouldn't put up, he should just put up those people. And so that's essentially what she pitches to him here, where she talks about how Rome is the big fish. Rome is the person that he needs to take out, but it has to be through a back door. He cannot initially leave him on the block. He can't give him a chance to play in veto. And this is very smart for Angela. Angela knows how the blockbuster era should work, where if you have 2 chances to go up, there's a much higher chance that you're going to win one of those 2 things. And also, if you put Rome on the block and you don't put up and you put up Lyric as well, Rome can then use the veto. Rome can then use the veto on Lyric, and Rome is still. If you put up Rome on the block, yes, you have Rome and Lyric there, but Rome can win the veto, Lyric can win the blockbuster, and then suddenly neither of them can go. So I think it was very smart of Angela to pitch this to Devens, where it's like, okay, just put up Lyric outright, wait to put up Rome as a as a backdoor and things like that. I think this plan that Angela had is fine. I think, the pitch that she gives to him about how he's going to dominate the house and that they need to be wary of him, I think all of that is fine. And I think if they had just left it to this conversation and then let Devens go to bed, let him think about this, I think this could have been fine. But that's not what happens here. We'll talk about what goes down. But Sean, first of all, how are you feeling about how Angela's playing the game this season? And also, how do you feel about how, she made this move?
If I remember correctly, out of all the seasons I've watched that like they brought back,
yeah,
I feel like Angela is the one that like I can say like I'm actually proud of the way she's playing this time around. Like she's definitely learning from her mistakes in the past season.
Yeah.
And with this move specifically, honestly, like I feel like she did it. I think she did it.
Oh yeah.
Like the fact that we have yet to see her blow. We have yet to see her blow up.
It's coming.
It's crazy to me, but yeah, no, I'm proud of her for what she's doing so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think she's playing a much more intentional game. There's so much more thought into what she's doing. She even says in the diary room, like, if this was 26, I would have blown up at Drew. I would have exposed what he's doing and things like that. And she's not doing that. Now, there are things that she's doing currently that I'm concerned about. But again, there's a lot of intentionality into her game this time, and I think that actually is really good for her. For her standards, she's playing much better. There's still a lot that she's doing wrong, but she's definitely playing a lot better than she did last season. And like I said, I think this initial pitch to Devens is the right one. The way that Devens decides to go about this, though, I don't know about that, because Devens gets really excited about this idea. He says as much in the diary room that, like, at the end of the day, I just want to have fun. I just want to be chaotic. And he goes full Devens here. And that's exactly what Angela was trying to do. She knows that he's somebody that just can't resist it. He wants to do the crazy thing. That's exactly what he did in Survivor 50 with like the fake idol and things like that. He wants to do crazy shit like that. And it's great television what he decides to do, but I think Devens does a little bit too much here, where basically he decides that he's just going to rally all the troops. He wants to get the red corner on board, but he wants to do it literally all in the same night. So he goes to Chuk, Haley, and Kamu. He pulls them in. He pulls Drew in. He wakes up Barrett, who's like sleeping in the have-not room, to pull him in on what's going on, and immediately, you know, tells them what's going to happen, who he's going to put up. And the reason why this is a really bad thing is because even though, yes, you're pulling in Barrett, this immediately wakes up Rome and Jason. And they're like, why the fuck are we doing stuff at 3:30 in the morning? What could possibly be going on here? And we see that, you know, basically Rome tries to enter the HOH room to see what could be happening so late at night. He tries ring the doorbell a bunch of times. He like sits outside the room for like 10 minutes, straight up is like sitting in a chair waiting for one of them to enter. It doesn't happen. Sean, just your reaction to this whole thing, because I think everybody was like, what the fuck is going on here? There's no way I'm seeing this. Just insane how quickly this all went down.
I was shocked because like, like I don't remember if anyone did like DRs in the middle of all of this happening, but like not only he pulled in
crossovers,
but also
the red corner.
Yeah, and no one's like clocking the fact that like the only thing they clock were like, oh, these are other people that like Ashley, you know, like. That was really like shocked me the most. I was laughing the entire time while I was trying to get into the HOH.
Oh yeah, it was so funny. And then, you know, the whole time he's like, before that he's like, do I want to make a ruckus? Do I want to like try to cause problems? Or like, don't do it. And he goes to do it anyway. They don't show this in the episode, but Jason also was doing some crazy stuff here. He literally like ran all the way to like the HOH room just to try to find Barrett, to see if Barrett was playing him. I mean, it was gold. Everything about this was insane. We don't get this kind of insanity within Big Brother this early on often, and so when we get it, we really just have to just really embrace it and feel happy that we're getting to see it, because who knows if this season will stay this good for this long. But for now, this was a lot of fun to watch. Like I said, Devens brings them in. Oh, ran to the bedrooms. That's what it was. Yeah. So he ran to the bedrooms, but yeah, that whole thing was so funny. So yeah, basically Devens brings the plan to everyone about the plan to put up Jason, Lyric, and Melody. But at this time, Drew decides that he's going to want to try to solidify an alliance. They're all together, so he comes up with this plan that he wanted this alliance from the beginning. calls it the tool shed. And so, yeah, they've now come together. They are the tool shed. When I first heard about this group, I thought it was a joke. And then I found out what it actually was. And I was like, no goddamn way. That's actually their name. But turns out it is. They're the tool shed now. We have fully merged Red Corner and crossovers. There was precedent for this. This was something that seemed like it was going to happen eventually. I definitely think this was too early, though, because, like, Red Corner is just such a good shield for the crossovers so early on. People aren't really liking Haley. People aren't liking her and Chuk. Kamu's somebody that is only growing more powerful by the minutes. I think merging these two groups, I understand why they did it. I just think it was way too early to solidify this.
I agree.
So, yeah, so that all ends up happening. And we didn't even mention this part. If this isn't bad enough, they all then walk down the stairs in like single file, all come down at once. And Rome's like, I rang the doorbell, and Chuck's like, oh, we didn't hear anything. And then Haley goes to Rome and is basically like, have a good night, big day tomorrow. And so Rome is just like utterly scared as to what's going to happen. Again, just absolute gold. Like, it's one of those moments where you just watch it and you're like, this feels like it's going to be like a classic Big Brother moment. People are going to be remembering where they were when Rome was like trying to ring the doorbell all this, you know, all night, and it wasn't happening. People are going to remember where they were, you know, trying to find Barrett, and they were everybody was laughing in like the bathroom and things like that. Again, just so many incredible moments here. I think they did capture this as well as they possibly could. Like I said, they maybe could have included the Jason moment, but the stuff they did, I thought they did do a really good job with. The only thing I do wish that they included, because I don't know if you know this part, Sean, is that before all this happened, Rome was declaring himself as like the president of the entire house and thought he was in like this amazing position. And then all this went down overnight, and it just kind of like took the wind out of his sails. So I wish that they would have included that part to like really show the fictitious like fall of the Roman Empire. But I thought this was a really good way.
That makes more sense now that you said that, just because like the way that he was up in the kitchen and like really seeing each person go up and him looking so confused, and I was just like, why are you confused? Now it makes sense.
He was so convinced to like, I'm running the show, I'm the one that's like pulling all the strings, and obviously that was very much not the case. Quite literally president of the house, and then 24 hours later crying and sobbing. I mean, it just doesn't get better than that. It really just doesn't get better than that. So all that goes down. Before we do talk about what ends up going down next, we do get this moment with Angela. Angela is the person that ends up receiving the BB time capsule, to really no one's surprise. I think everybody knew that she was going to get this. And then the thing is, though, as much as it's great that Angela got this, she probably wished she didn't, because the comp that she does is literally the very first comp she ever did on Big Brother, with the like spinning thing that, you know, almost, you know, made her nauseous and things like that. And she said she had like really bad whiplash over it. She has to do that again. It obviously doesn't work out for her. And so she's unable to complete the comp. And so now she has to wear this costume that, as we remember, Vince had to wear this last season. I think it's one of the best costumes Big Brother has come up with in a while. It is the hard-boiled detective costume. She has to wear this for like 7 days. Sean, I mean, like, I think like the best person and the worst person to get this generally. I can't believe that this happened to her.
I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
I think that explains it all.
Yeah, it was great to see. We do get this moment where Jason is really kind of devastated that he did not get this and that he thought he had a chance to win. He thought the Drag Race fans were going to be on his side. It wasn't the case. I felt bad for him, but also was like, dude, you're not going to have a chance to get this so early on when there's like that's in the house. Like if I'm in the house, like I know that I'm not going to have a chance to get this. I'm just going to rally in like week 4 or 5 to get this. But for right now, like I'm just not going to have the chance here. So I felt bad for Jason, but also it was kind of funny the way it played out. So yeah. So we get to the actual nominations. Rome does try to pull Devens aside and like just try to see like, okay, what really happened here? Is there, because what they don't show on the episode is that Rome was really like confused as to what was happening. He was trying to rally the troops like that entire day, trying to like see like, okay, is Devens going to be honest with me that like I was ringing the doorbell and I was there, like, can we clear this up? Doesn't end up working out. He goes to Devens and straight up threatens him, straight up tells him that like, if I felt good with you, we had this open line communication, but if you're aligned with what's going on in there, it's going to get a bit dicey. And so Devens is like, we're just going to fucking rip off the Band-Aid, no holds barred at this point, and just goes full nuclear and decides to put up Jason, Lyric, and Melody. He talks about the fact that he felt that during his HOH, he had like no dance partner. He felt that all that last week, none of them talked strategy with him until he was HOH, which Jason calls out. He also says he sees Rome as the biggest threat of the game, explicitly told him not to put up anyone but Jason and Lyric. And before he can even explain his noms, it seems like we're going to get to the point where he's like, this nomination ceremony is adjourned. Instead, what ends up happening is Jason brings up Angela right away as the person behind it, calls her a big liar as well, and being, as it's also, he sees it as like it's her HOH. She calls him messy, and then calls a house meeting, and then the episode ends on a note that, honestly, a lot of the times when Big Brother does cliffhangers, it's really lame because it's like obvious what's going to happen. This was one where it's like, I can understand why you ended on a cliffhanger. Because I don't know if you know this, Sean. When the feeds came back, it was literally in the middle of the nomination ceremony. Like, we have never seen something like that happen before. But this went on for so long that Devens tried to end the ceremony like multiple times and they just wouldn't let him do it. And so we finally saw like the tail end of him doing so, because quite literally just everybody got into it. And I'm really interested to see how they're going to portray this on Wednesday. But like I said, I'm not surprised they ended on this cliffhanger. I think this is probably the most insane nomination ceremony I've probably ever seen. And so I think to end it on the note that they did, it's really showing the significance of this. Like, this is something you're going to want to be around here for. You're never going to forget where you were when you saw this go down. I think this was the best possible way they could have wrapped this up.
Oh, I agree. I was really hooked. And then they did that. I was like, well, thank God I'm off Wednesday.
Yeah, no, you're definitely not ready for how insane that's going to be. And I won't go too much into what happens there, but let's just say a lot of stuff gets exposed. A lot of people get into things. There's a great moment with Rome where like Angela's going on, and Rome's like, all right, you had your monologue. Now let me cut in here. Jason goes off about how like, yes, I was messy, but that's who I am. And he goes on like this whole like rant. It was really funny to watch, just because so many people were affected by it. And meanwhile, you hear like this very like deep sobbing in the background, and it's like Lala crying her eyes out because of the fact that like she wasn't included in anything. Again, it's just amazing moment after amazing moment, and I can't wait to see how they portray it on Wednesday's episode, because there's just so much ground to cover with what ended up happening there. But I'll get to a few things regarding feeds real quick that I do want to talk about, because the way the rest of this week plays out is very confusing. Because, you have Devens, he declares war. It seems like, okay, this is what's going to happen. Rome's going to be backdoored. We are fully against Lyric and Rome now, and it seems like that's going to be the case. And Melody is on the block, but we don't want Melody to go. Melody's the person we kind of want to pull over to our side. And so you think that's kind of what's going to happen. And it seemed like that is what was going to happen until we get to who actually won the veto, which ends up being Devens for some reason. Devens did the classic mistake of just going on a power trip, winning the HOH, winning the veto. People really want Devens out now because of this. But Devens had, I think, an obvious choice here where like he could have easily just like used the veto on Melody, take off Melody, put up Rome. That made the most sense. He didn't necessarily want Melody to go. Instead, Lyric like really gets to work here and like starts putting in like so much more effort than I ever expected her to, where she goes around to multiple people. She starts flirting with Chuk. She starts flirting with like Kamu a bit. And goes like full Allison Irwin, trying to get everybody in her good graces to the point where it seems like all she had to do was talk to people, promise them that she wouldn't put them up, goes to Devens and says like, I know you're worried. It goes to D, says like, I know you're worried about Mallory. I'll try to make sure you're not targeted and things like that. And D believes her for some reason, goes to Devens, just straight up says, I'm not going to put you up. And that's enough for him for some reason. She also goes around to like multiple people trying to get them on her side. And it's really effective work from Lyric. I was generally blown away by how well she really did here. But surely it's not going to work, right? Like, even though Lyric's putting in all this effort, you know, he's still going to use the veto on Melody, correct? That makes the most sense. Oh, wait, what? He's now thinking about putting up, using the veto on Lyric and taking Lyric down, and now Melody is going to stay on the block, but yet you're still putting up Rome. Yeah, to say Devens just completely loses the plot here would be an understatement. I really don't understand any of what he does moving forward. The veto ceremony happened today. He did end up using it on Lyric. Lyric's off the block. Rome isn't. Rome is still potentially like his target, but it's going to be harder to get the votes onto Rome. Sean, this is the first time you're hearing about this. What do you think of this whole thing? Because I'm generally just very confused by the way Devens decided to go about this. Yeah.
I don't know how to feel just because, like, yay, the Lyric. But like, it's like a what the fuck moment, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I mean, this is
thing you're not gonna finish. I don't know. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, it's like it's the definition of like if you're going to declare war on the house, you have to stick to your guns. You have to take. You cannot say like, I'm drawing a line in the sand here and then being like, oh shit, actually, no, we're going to cross off half of that line and we're just going to leave like this one little sliver of it. But I'm still going to make sure what I want ends up happening. You know, I got Lyric on my side now, and his reasoning is like, I have half of Rome on my side, so I feel like I'll be fine. But again, if you're trying to get Rome out, it just doesn't make a lot of sense here. Plus, I mean, there's a very good chance now Melody could go because of the fact that you have Rome winning the blockbuster. Now Rome and Lyric are both going to vouch for Jason because that's somebody that they're aligned with. They haven't really shown it in the episodes, but they have this alliance. I think it's literally called like the threesome or something like that. But that's kind of like a group that they have going on. Whereas Melody is somebody that Lyric is close with, but is not really with them to the extent that like you would think she would be. And Melody also is somebody that is kind of like pulling herself away from that side. She really wants to go with Drew. She trusts Drew a lot. She really wants to work with that side of the house. And so again, to just like pull the ripcord and decide to take down Lyric, basically, it just feels like everything you did was kind of unnecessary here. Like, you maybe should have just stuck to your easy noms if it was going to be that easy to take down one of them. It just doesn't really make a lot of sense. I don't know if this is going to work. If Rome goes, great, that happens. But again, you've now pissed off Melody. You've now pissed off Jason. Like, the whole thing just doesn't make any sense. Melody was like pitching really hard to Devens, basically doing the same work as Lyric, but Lyric was clearly more effective at it. And again, great for her. Like, I'm very impressed by Lyric here. Do not want to take that away from her. I just don't understand how it worked. I really don't. And I really do think this is a move that Devens is going to regret. What I'm noticing from like the crossovers is that they seem to be very indecisive, where like they have a plan of what they want to do, and then they're like, no, I don't want to do that. It feels very reminiscent of like, and people have said this, it's very reminiscent of like Suri, Felicia, and Izzy on Big Brother 25, where like they would just constantly second guess themselves and make like the suboptimal move every single time, where instead of getting rid of Cam, they get rid of Riley. Instead of getting rid of Cam again, they get rid of Hisam. Like, this is the classic mistake where it's like, why are you taking down Lyric when you can just take down Melody, pull her into your side, do what you wanted to do with Ashley, but no, because you're worried about, because Dee and Angela are so worried about Drew and the fact that Drew is getting close to Melody, for some reason now we don't want to take down Melody. I don't know. The whole thing is just so confusing. But yeah, I mean, what do you think is going to be the outcome from this?
I don't know. And honestly, and I don't know is I don't know. To me, the unknown is more fun than like something like very like, oh, it's right in your face. So yeah, I'm excited to see what comes, because honestly, you know me, I love drama, I love chaos, and it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, because I mean, I think that the game is going to be significantly harder for the vets now, because I think that if they had just again taken down Melody, like that's someone that's on your side now. You can kind of do the same thing you did with Ashley, where like you just kind of blame her for things and kind of just make her the scapegoat. Because again, people are still like kind of not happy with her for what she did week one. She's recovered from that, but like people haven't necessarily like forgotten about it. But yeah, overall, it's just very confusing the way that went down. And yeah, exactly. Devens clearly has proven that like he will listen to the other vets over everybody. It seems like if Dee and Angela had maybe pitched something different, and Angela didn't necessarily want Lyric to go up, but she just kind of like resigned herself to it. She was like, okay, fine, I guess we'll do that. So, you know, Dee's perspective, I kind of understand. Like, Dee feels really good with Lyric. They had a good conversation like week one. But again, like what's good for Dee's game is not necessarily good for your game. Yes, you're having this conversation with Lyric, but Lyric is talking about this when you've now won the veto. Like, that's just something you need to think about when you play Big Brother. And I think a flaw with Devens here is just he's not thinking about that stuff. He's thinking about the fact that like, well, I had this conversation with her, so all is right in the world. All is very much not right in the world. Lyric and Rome literally staged a breakup to make people think that like they weren't together. It didn't work, but yet somehow they came out of the scot-free. I don't know. The whole thing is just really confusing. We'll have to see where this ends up going. Like I said, I'll talk more about this on, I believe Thursday is when I'm going to do the podcast for the next one. But yeah, just very interesting to see how this all is going to go down. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all there is to talk about in regards to feeds and what's happening throughout this season. So yeah, anything else you want to say quickly, Sean, before I turn things over to you to promote anything?
I don't. I do. I'm actually kind of interested to see how, like, obviously, like what we just talked about towards the end, and how like I'm excited to see how Dee comes back from all of this. Because obviously we know she's a two-time winner.
No. I wish. No.
She's one survivor, so she knows like the strategic standpoint of all things. But like watching her play Big Brother and having to tweak her own gameplay, like she kind of knows how to play, but also like with all these other things like the veto and like the blockbuster, I kind of want to see how she comes back from this.
Yeah, because I do think that D is the one who's probably going to be the least affected by this. People see this as like this was Angela's move. People are really wanting to target Devens. Mallory is looking at D, but that's really the only person that like firmly wants her out. And I don't blame Mallory for that because D put her on the block, and you know they haven't really had like a decent connection since then. So it's like I think D is probably going to be okay. She just really needs to recognize that like her perception is just not there with some of these people. Like she even mentioned that like she didn't think Jason was coming after them, and they're like, no, Jason's absolutely coming after us. She even had a moment today where she went to Angela and she was like, maybe we just get rid of Melody. And Angela's like, okay, but Jason's gonna put me up. And D's like, okay, fuck it, we'll vote for Jason then. So like it's these small things early on that I'm just a little bit concerned about. I'm not as concerned with D as I am for Devens, but there are definitely things that I'm seeing some flaws. I think she can improve upon them because she knows the show, but she's only seen like 2 seasons of the show. So there's still a lot that she has to learn. Again, I have more confidence in D that she can kind of like, you know, pivot her game than Devens, who I think really just kind of fucked himself this week. I think a lot of things he did this week are kind of unavoidable. Like I think that, you know, he's kind of in a spot where it's going to be hard for him to recover. I do think that D hopefully can recover swiftly from this because, like I said, she's not nearly as affected as Angela or Devens are. So we'll have to see. But yeah, other than that, those are all the updates in terms of feeds and things like that. Before we do close things out here, if you have anything you want to just promote or anything you want to say, go right ahead.
Well, it was a pleasure having me.
Yes.
I know you've been trying to get me on for the longest time, but I'm just always at work. Hashtag we do not stay on Buffalo Wild Wings anymore, but we do stay from 7 Brew. So if you have a 7 Brew location, go to your 7 Brew. Cheaper coffee and energy drinks.
I thought that was 7-Eleven, but now I see that it's 7 Brew. So I saw 7, so I just thought like 7 Brew. Yes,
sir.
Big fans.
I'm pretty sure this is also my Instagram tag. If not, check out one But yeah, I love y'all. Thanks for having me, Kevin.
Yes, this was a lot of fun. It's been a long time coming for sure. Since I think the last time you were on my channel was what, like 2021, something. It's been a long time.
I think the last time I was on your channel is when we were doing the lip sync reviews.
Oh, honestly, yeah, it might have been. That's crazy. But yeah, other than that, that's pretty much it for our thoughts on Big Brother 28. Of course, if you do like this video, I have a ton of other movie and TV reviews out there. So if you're interested in any of that, definitely consider checking my content as well as subscribe to my channel. Love to be a part of all of that. But other than that, guys, over this video, hope you guys enjoyed it, and we will see you guys later. Okay, bye. Oh yeah, apply to Paradox, by the way. Okay, bye.